Hello there, my dear sister. So you just had a baby, which is amazing, and also you need some help with your pelvic floor. That is what you requested, some pelvic floor health and stuff. So I know that you're well aware of Kegels and various strengthening exercises for the pelvic floor, all of which is great for sure. But what you might not know how to do is how to breathe with the pelvic floor. So our pelvic floor functions as a diaphragm in our body. So you kind of have the two diaphragms being our diaphragm that everyone, or hopefully everyone, knows about here. And then our pelvic floor functions as another diaphragm in our body. So if you really want to strengthen and bring the pelvic floor into like the best health it could possibly have, then ideally when you're breathing, your diaphragm and pelvic floor should move together, kind of up and down together. And of course, where the diaphragm does have a lot of movement, the pelvic floor is not going to move that much, but it is going to kind of expand and contract with the breath, with the other diaphragm as we're breathing. So, which is really great because the pelvic floor is made up of a whole bunch of different muscles down there, and so as they're being pushed and expanded as we're breathing, then they are strengthening and they're being, used, they're awakening. It's one of the best ways to integrate the pelvic floor with all of those muscles with each other, and then all of those muscles together with the rest of the body, which is the most ideal thing, is to kind of have, full body integration and awareness. Everything moves and is used together, as opposed to separately, which is kind of what happens with Kegels. You're just kind of I said I just did some Kegels, but obviously you can't see or tell that. So that's what makes pelvic floor work kind of difficult, is that you can't really see what's happening. And also the movement is so minuscule anyways, that even if you could see what's happening, you probably wouldn't be able to get that much benefit out of it. So I'm just going to show you one of my favorite ways to train pelvic floor breathing. And yeah, it's extremely effective and super simple. You can do it at any level of flexibility or strength or body awareness that you have. Anybody can do this breathing exercise, and it'll really help to develop your awareness of the pelvic floor and control over it with anything that you do anytime. So for this one, you're just going to lay down onto our backs, and we're going to hug our knees up into our chest, right? And then, so what we're gonna do is extend one leg. So we're gonna keep hugging one knee. You can hug it however you wanna hug it. And we're gonna extend the other leg straight. So when we've done this, now our pelvis is kind of rotated a little bit, which puts some, I don't know, like stress or strain, but it just puts emphasis onto the pelvic floor, because those muscles are now forced to kind of be used to try and, hold the pelvis together. So we're gonna do this, keep the leg lifted, or, down's easier, lifted would be a little bit more difficult. Fully straight, again, also might be more difficult. So maybe you're just starting up here, it's just a little bit extended. You're gonna work it farther and farther straighter, farther and farther away. But you're just going to try and breathe as deeply into the belly as you possibly can. So you're gonna keep your head down here, legs straight. You're just gonna take deep breaths, and you want to try and push your breath all the way into your pelvic floor. So as you're doing that, we want to hold our lower core down. So you typically, if you're taking a deep breath, you're letting your belly expand like that. So you want to keep your lower abdomen, like from the belly button down, engaged, so it's holding down so that air can't go up there, so it just keeps getting pushed farther and farther down. It's going to start going all the way down into your pelvic floor. Right, so I can feel that as I'm doing that, I can feel my pelvic floor pushing out and expanding pretty much along the entire thing. Like even like between the tailbone and the anus, like even back there is expanding out. We want all of that to expand and move together. Just like that. So again, this is gonna be a really short video because there's only so much that I can kind of show you and do with that, because I can't show you my pelvic floor. You can't really see that movement happening. It's just something you're gonna have to kind of play around with and become aware of. Yeah, you just kind of want to rotate your pelvis out of alignment a little bit so the pelvic floor is engaged, and then breathe into it. And so those muscles are going to be pulling, trying to hold the pelvic floor together, and then they're expanding and contracting. So it's going to start strengthening those muscles, and it'll start to bring a lot more awareness to those muscles. You're going to start to feel a lot more space just like in like the bladder and everything. You're going to feel it all kind of start to open up a little bit. And you might let out some gas. You might all of a sudden feel like you need to pee. All of those stuff, because you're actually relieving a lot of pressure off of the entire lower body area by doing so, by pushing open that pelvic floor. It'll feel pretty weird at first, honestly. But with that kind of engagement of the, kind of open legs, you're gonna really feel that there. Another way to kind of advance or progress that is you can try and even lift the sacrum or the tailbone off of the ground. And that way, when you do that, your lower abs are kind of forced to engage. And so you don't have to worry as much. So like, right, if I'm trying to just bring this forward, my spine's gonna come down. So I bring it forward and I keep my tailbone up, my lower abs are engaged a lot, and that'll really force air down into the pelvic floor. Yeah, so you can, again, you can't see anything. No matter what way I go, you're not going to be able to see my pelvic floor actually moving. It's just something you're going to have to breathe and feel your way through. As you're doing it, keep your head down. Try and keep your throat nice and relaxed. I said this in another video. Nasal breathing is the ideal way to do this, but also requires a stronger diaphragm. And more kind of control and stuff over your breath to get your breath to go down that far. So if you're like really strained, like trying to like breathe a lot of air up into there and like try to get it down that low, then start with breathing through your mouth. So you're gonna get a lot more rush of air, a lot more stronger airflow and whatnot at first. And then as you're strengthening your diaphragm and your pelvic floor, both of your diaphragms, you're gonna get better and better at breathing through the nose. Will become a lot easier. So kind of, you basically just want a nice, steady, long stream of air going down there, all the way down as low as it can go. And it'll start to expand the pelvic floor. Then that air will start to then come up through the rest of the body, which can lead to a lot of amazing things and meditation and energy work and that kind of stuff. It all starts with the pelvic floor. It's extremely important part, crucial part of our body. It kind of ties our whole torso together down here. And yeah, so try that. Just breathing. Breathing is the best thing you can do for your pelvic floor. And you're going to be amazed as you get better and better at doing that. Make sure you do both legs, rotate the pelvis both ways, all different directions. As you get better and better at that, you're going to find even just your Kegels and stuff will become a lot easier to do. You have like more control. You'll be able to squeeze closer up here, you'll be able to squeeze closer down here, you're going to be able to squeeze closer down towards your tailbone. You just have like more and more control of the different parts of the pelvic floor, right? Because there's a ton of muscles down there. It's not just like one pelvic floor muscle. There's a lot of muscles down there. You just had a baby. Your anatomy is very different from mine. Very different. It's, but start to do that. Breathe, 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 and then start paying attention when you are doing your Kegels to where you're kind of squeezing along the pelvic floor. Like, are you squeezing everything together? Are you squeezing closer up towards the pelvis? Are you squeezing closer towards the tailbone? Where along there are you squeezing? Can you isolate different places where you're squeezing? Again, as I'm doing that, I'm like kind of squeezing myself, but you can't see that. So that's what makes pelvic floor training tough, is that it's a lot harder to kind of show people those movements. Yeah, work on that. And then eventually, as you're doing more and more of that, find out if you can squeeze like higher up, as opposed to like on the surface level where you're squeezing. Can you leave like the surface level kind of relaxed and like higher up into your torso? You can kind of squeeze up higher up there. Yeah, these are all just different areas of control that you can gain over a Kegel. And breathing is going to really help all of that because it'll expand all of that. It'll create a lot more space down there and bring your awareness down there so you have more control over those muscles. So give those a try. Try that out for like a while. You'll know you're doing it right when like you're breathing out and all of a sudden you have to pee, or you're doing that and like a massive amount of gas comes out and you're just like, what the hell? That's good. It just kind of means that you are opening things up down there, which is what you want to do because you want the pelvic floor to be able to move freely. Because most of us have ridiculously tight, contracted pelvic floors that don't move at all. So yeah, try that. See how it goes. Let me know. I have other exercises and breathing techniques and stuff that you can kind of do with the pelvic floor. But that's the basic one, and that's the main one. It is incredibly effective and useful. So have fun with that.